Okay, if everyone will just silence your cell phones so we don't get any interruptions. And my name is Shelley Goldberg, and I'm the current president of the Computer Club. And this is our once a month meeting that we hold on the second Thursday of each month, with the exception of last month, due to the 25th anniversary. And hopefully that won't happen again for at least another 5 years. So we should be good on second Thursdays. As usual, what we're going to be doing is we go over a few things first that relate to our club and to the community. So we'll be given a financial report, talk about membership, the computer club itself, our classes that we do at the lab, community matters, and then we'll get on to our feature presentation. And just as a reminder, we do have this room until 12 noon, so we will not have the lab open today, but we will be here. If people have quick questions, we can answer them up until 12 o'clock.
Go back one. I was just going to take a picture, please. Thanks, Shelley.
And our presentations, by the way, are recorded so that you can go on our Computer Club's website anytime and see the prior presentations, not just the current one, but going back for several years. So talking about our treasurer's report, hasn't changed too much. We do now have a couple of CD accounts, and so we have been getting some interest, at least on money that's in the bank. And we're still waiting for Windows 12, but we will be getting some new computers in the lab. So that's what the large reserve is for getting new equipment. And our Grafton Food Pantry, we're up to $1,296 this year, and that's all the donations that you folks put into the jar at the back of the room. So thanks to everybody for that.
When is Windows 12 coming out?
Actually, we've got a presenter today who's going to be talking about Microsoft, so I'll let him talk about that. But it won't be this year; it'll be next year, probably about this time. Our membership is currently at 1,239, and this fluctuates throughout the year. As you may be aware, we are now on 3-year membership programs, so that when you pay either initially the $25 or the $15 for renewals, that's actually for 3 years. So whatever you're paying divided by 3, and it's good for you and your spouse or partner. So it's for your entire household. So it's quite a bargain. And we're always looking for new volunteers to help out. We have a full schedule of classes in the lab. All the classes are free. This meeting is free. The help you get with your computers and phones is all free, but we need additional people to volunteer to help out, either in the lab. You don't have to have a huge amount of expertise. We can train you. We also need more people on the board, so we don't have to stay on the board forever. We're always looking for new people to teach some of the classes, various types of classes. And of course, we also have the coffee crew in the back that prepares the coffee and the donuts that you're enjoying this morning. We have 2 subgroups right now. One is the Apple Users Group, and that meets on the first Tuesday of each month at 9 o'clock in the lab. So if you have a Mac or an iPhone or an iPad, and you might want to stop by and see how that goes. And if you're into photography, we have a photography group that meets on the first Wednesday of each month, and that's at 7 o'clock, also in the lab. And if you come to the lab, you will see photos around the lab. These are all taken by the photography group. There's also a display screen that scrolls through and shows some of the photos that we've done. The computer lab itself is open on Mondays and Thursday mornings from 9 to 12. So anytime you have anything that you need to look at, questions or whatever, just feel free to stop by Mondays and Thursdays anytime. Okay, here's the schedule of the classes that we have. Now, we will not be having classes in December. So we do have just these 2 classes left for the month of November. We did have a nice Zoom class last night, and we will be having another class over Zoom. These you can do right from the comfort of your own home. And the next one will be on Google Calendar, and that'll be next Wednesday evening at 6:30. There was a schedule change. The Android phone, if you're looking for that Android phone class, it's now scheduled for Friday the 22nd at 10 a.m. So you might want to make a note of that. Ralph, did you want to say a few words?
Well, a lot of the words that we're going to say, Shelley already said about the classes. But anyway, you know, I look out there and I think, this is really neat. I see so many smart people. I'll bet you half of them can teach a class. Boom. We need more instructors. We just lost a good one. Bill Zaletti died, and he's taught various classes in different subjects. So we're getting down pretty low on instructors, so it doesn't take a lot. I mean, you can even do it at your own house on Zoom. We got a Zoom license. Like last night, we had 28 people on the Zoom meeting, and went an hour and 10 minutes, and I think the maximum was 28, and when the hour and 10 minutes were up, we had 24. So it must have been interesting, and most of them stay on. So think about it. If you have a subject that you'd like to have a class on, try to let somebody in the lab or myself know. If you put your name on there, you might be the one teaching it. But let's try to get some interesting things. I've got the flyer out to our instructors that I have now for January, February, and March, because we do it a quarter at a time. And hopefully we're going to shoot for 5 or 6 classes each month. Some will be repeats, because if you're like me, tomorrow I'll forget what happened today. But anyway, think about teaching classes, because we really do need some additional younger instructors, because most of our instructors are getting old, aren't we, Shelley? Yeah, we are. Okay, well, thanks, and be sure to attend, because, you know, it's kind of sad when the instructor spends several hours getting the class ready and 3 people show up. So try to watch the schedule, and hopefully we'll get better attendance. But the Zoom classes are always well attended, because you don't have to go anywhere.
Okay, thanks, Ralph. And always let us know what types of classes you're interested in. So if we're not already offering it, then we can try to get someone to teach the class if there's some interest in it. Digest that. Okay, and since this meeting is open to the entire community at large, we go over some community matters as well. This evening, there's going to be a concert here in Trendle by the Neville Brothers. They're going to be doing Elvis to the Beatles. The theater group on November 20th through 24th is doing Fiddler on the Roof. On November 25th, here in Trendle, there'll be a Carole King tribute concert. And on December 2nd, there'll be a Blues Brothers tribute concert. And then on December 11th is the next Sun City Board meeting. That's at 9 a.m. and that's in the Birch Room. And as I mentioned, we are going to be available in here till 12 noon. We do have this room reserved till 12 noon. So if you have questions or if you just want to stick around and talk about the presentation or amongst yourselves, you're welcome to grab a seat at a table here and you talk amongst yourselves or talk to us or whatever might interest you. Okay, with that, I'm going to introduce who's Dan here. Ah, there you are. Okay. I'm going to introduce Dan Ray, and I'll let him give his biographical information. But Dan is going to be talking to us about Windows 11, the status of Windows today with the new update 24H2, what's going on with Windows 12, and then Microsoft has it's AI in the form of Microsoft Copilot. So with that, let me turn it over to Dan Ray.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name's Dan Ray, R-E-Y, not R-A-Y. You're not going to find me on social media or anywhere else if you don't spell my last name right. I'm on LinkedIn. If you're a LinkedIn user, you're welcome to connect with me. There aren't that many Dan Rays out there. But I post on a regular basis about technology. I have been a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, MVP, which is an award Microsoft gives folks that are involved in community, so this counts as a community contribution for me. And I've been awarded in 2 categories this year. I've been a Microsoft Teams MVP for 2 years, and this past July, I was awarded in Microsoft Copilot. This afternoon, I'm giving a presentation on Copilot to the Medical Malpractice Association downtown Chicago, so I'll have to transition at some point, maybe mid-morning from here to Chicago. I'm also teaching a class. The class is doing a lab right now while I'm presenting to you. We're not going to tell anybody that unless they find your YouTube channel, which I'm hoping will not happen. But the thing for today that I mentioned to our friend who is streaming this to YouTube was that I don't have our presentation ready yet. I'm going to actually use Copilot live in front of you to create a presentation for you today. And so if you're not familiar with Copilot, it's available in the Office applications. It is a yearly license for the business version. However, for Copilot in PowerPoint, Word, and Excel, you can get that for $20 a month, and they call it Copilot Pro. You can also do a 30-day trial of that for free, which is fairly unique because the other businesses have to commit to an entire year at $30 a month, which is $360 for the first year. So I'm going to create a presentation about 3 topics that you have interest in. Anybody have interest in something besides Windows 12, we'll get to that. What do you want to hear about with computers?
Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers. And try to refresh your page because I'm not connected to the internet. It does require internet. And this is my reminder that I haven't been here with this particular Surface computer So we have to connect to the internet first, and then Copilot will work. So we're gonna do a presentation about the Green Bay Packers. Come on.
She was generous in not choosing the Bears.
Yeah, exactly. These can be computer related. Let's see if we're gonna get to the internet here. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna refresh this to make sure we're connected. Just thinking about it. Okay, we should be on the internet now. So we're gonna back up and I'm gonna create a presentation live in front of you in PowerPoint about 3 topics. The first of which should be the Green Bay Packers. If we have another internet hiccup, I'm gonna use the browser version. I'm typing with one hand, which is super efficient. So be sure to pick something really long and complex for me to type. What else?
Classical music,
Classical music.
yes.
That's not too bad. Copilot doesn't really care if you misspell stuff either, so we could always have something fat-fingered or incorrectly typed in. Third thing, what do you want to learn about?
Stock market.
Pickleball, just one, whatever yours was. Pickleball is close to my heart. My girlfriend, I got divorced recently. My girlfriend plays tennis, which was my first love as a racket sport. But pickleball it is. What was yours? Let's do it for it. Travel? Whereabouts specifically?
Travel to where?
To Africa. Okay, that's a good one. I have not been to that continent. It's on my bucket list. So let's see what PowerPoint can do for us with the assistance of Copilot. Copilot now also comes up with an outline before it creates all your slides. This is an update that happened in August of this year. It used to just spit out typically about 5 slides. So we might have gotten 1 slide on the Green Bay Packers, 1 slide about classical music, 1 slide about pickleball, and we added the travel to Africa. So here I see that it's going to give me at least some information about classical music and its origins. I like that. I can give Microsoft feedback on that. We have an introduction to pickleball, which I will be there in December where pickleball was originated. And like I said, I haven't been to Africa, but it's on my bucket
Is
list.
that in Washington State?
It is in Washington State and it's on Bainbridge Island. So I haven't done the ferry over there to see the home of pickleball, but one of my MVP friends gave me a sticker from Bainbridge that I have on one of my computers, not this one that I have here. So I'm using, well, we have this generating. You can see it's doing way more than 5 or 6 slides on the topic. And it's also giving me the ability to give Microsoft feedback here as well as once it has been created. So here is our PowerPoint for today. We're going to keep this. It looks great. We are going to run through a presentation with 19 slides for all of you.
Is the source Google or is it Microsoft only?
Great question. So the question was, what is the source of the information that Copilot is bringing back to PowerPoint? If it's business related, like tell me about DESA Enterprises, my company that I formed when I left Microsoft in 2016, it might get information from an internal business source if you're using the business version. If you're using the personal version, it's getting that information from things like OpenAI and ChatGPT and public information. So you could ask it something about current events. You could ask it about the weather in Illinois in 2024 up to this time, and it can pull that type of information. If it has any problems pulling information, it'll tell you that. But we've got an outline with our 4 topics that we talked about. And we have the legacy of the Green Bay Packers. The photos are pulled from things like Dolly and from public sources that are available on the internet. So we have information about the founding of the Packers, ups and downs, and a beloved team. Notable players and coaches, Vince Lombardi, Art Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers are all outlined. We don't have additional slides on them, but we could ask Copilot to build another slide about each of these players if we so choose. And then key championships and achievements, 13 NFL championships, 4 Super Bowl titles, and a powerhouse in football. This is a Surface device, so I have a Surface stylus. I could use that on my computer here to come back to, let's go back to our slide about the history of the franchise, change to a pen, and I could highlight something like the ups and downs of the Packers. And then from a PowerPoint perspective, the other thing that Copilot does for me, which is somewhat unique, is it's also going to create for me slide notes. So if you've ever given a presentation and realized, hey, I don't really want to read the slide, but that's the only information I have about the subject that the slides talk about, notice that most of these slides have notes at the bottom that when I go in to present this are viewable for me as the presenter. So PowerPoint automatically picks up now when I go into slideshow mode from current slide. I am seeing the Green Bay Packers have had some of the most talented and iconic players and coaches in football history. Something that's not the exact same thing that I have on the slide. So if you like to read and you're not familiar with these 4 topics that we just picked out of the air, right? I have something to read as a presenter that isn't what you're looking at and reading as the audience.
Is that only with the Pro, or does all, do all the systems that you would pay for?
Copilot Pro, or I'm using the business version, they all can do that.
Okay.
So we just talked about how I could break out. Who's everybody's favorite player off this list? Brett Favre, show of hands. 3 people. Okay, so I don't think he's going to win anything. Is it Aaron Rodgers?
Art Starr.
Art Starr is the one. So we're going to say, ask me anything about this. We can summarize this presentation, organize this presentation, ask, or I can say, add a slide about Bart Starr. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can answer general purpose questions. Super useful. Create. Add a slide about Brett Favre. Let's do one of the other ones here and see if that's going to work. Maybe it just doesn't like Bart Starr. Maybe it's got like, you know, a thing against people that aren't with us anymore. I think it's just how I ask the question. That's the other thing about Copilot or prompting in general with AI, is it's not like us where it can make interpretations about how you said something. Sometimes you have to be pretty specific. So if I want to add a slide about Bart Starr, I can do the same thing with providing his information. I have set an alarm because I'm teaching a class and they're doing a lab and I need to touch base with them, but I'll be available after I touch base with them because they have a 5-hour lab they're doing today. And the goal is for them to do it, not for me to do it for them. So I can give them another break. Same type of thing. So now I've got a picture, probably not of Bart, but I've got a picture in place. And I could replace that picture or do other things with PowerPoint. So sometimes it doesn't necessarily pull pictures that are accurate. This is a crowd. This may be the Packers Stadium. This may be somewhere else. So you get the idea. I can always go in here and I can, I think, it might be off of the picture format. There's a place where you can replace pictures. change picture. And I could go out to online sources. And then I could say stadium. And let's put in football. I don't want to get too specific yet, but you get the idea. I could, put in exactly what I want a picture of or the year that I want a picture of. Creative Commons means that I have rights to use it. I can always clear that as well. And then it's doing its search. And this is powered by Bing. So this isn't necessarily Copilot. This is just a feature in PowerPoint. Current versions of PowerPoint work in the browser as well as in the app. So while we're waiting for this to see if the internet comes back with photos, I mentioned I am running Windows 11. I have this computer. If I hit Windows key D to minimize everything, you'll notice, or you may notice, you probably can't read it unless I zoom in, which is the Windows key and the plus key. If I zoom in and go to the lower left-hand corner, you'll notice that I'm running the Windows 11 Pro Insider build. So I'm on the next version of Windows that Microsoft is working on. You'll notice that it doesn't say Windows 12 anywhere. It still says Windows 11. Microsoft Ignite, their big conference this fall, has returned to Chicago for the first time in 9 years. It was here the first year they rebranded it as Ignite. It's back here next week. I will be there all week, so if there's any Windows 12 rumors that are substantiated or anything else, Microsoft owns the copyright to Windows 365. If I were a guessing or betting person, I would guess Microsoft 365. It might also include Windows 365. They've used that for cloud-based computing. And if you run Windows from the cloud instead of from a local computer, that is called Windows 365 if you use Microsoft as the licensing for that. So you could run it on a Mac, you could run it from an iPad, a Chromebook, etc., and run full Windows from the cloud. But Windows 11 at this point is the current version of Windows. I haven't heard anything different there, but if I do, you will be the first, among the first to know. So here we have a bunch of football fields. I can go ahead and toss in a football field as opposed to a scene from way in the past and in black and white. I could also decide, you know what, that black and white was kind of a cool effect, so under color I could say make it black and white pretty easily under the picture format ribbon in PowerPoint. Now let's move on to our other three topics. I'm going to go into slideshow mode and we're going to talk about the world of classical music. Classical music is a genre of music that has been around for centuries and has had a profound impact on the culture and society. In this section, we will explore the origins and evolution of classical music, famous composers, and their works, as well as the impact on classical music on modern culture. So I have those notes that I can read to you if I don't think of something to talk about based on the origins and evolution of classical music. I played cello in high school, but I realized my junior year that I wasn't going to be able to air bow anymore because I wasn't a very good cellist. So I just moved my bow back and forth and, kind of played softly so they couldn't hear that I wasn't fingering correctly and the notes weren't coming out correct. But my senior year, I was going to be a chair one who got all the solos. So I decided, you know what, I don't have to practice and I'm a much better singer than I am cellist. So I switched to chorus my senior year, which was probably a good move on my part. But I do miss having learned cello and having not played since high school, because as an adult, and even in high school, what I should have done is switch to what instrument as a tall person, not piano. I should have switched to bass, because the bass parts were easier, and I already knew cello. So if I'd done the smart thing and said, hey, can I play bass my senior year? I had the height, which you need to play bass, and I knew all the fingering, and I think the strings might have been the same between bass and cello. Does anybody know? Slightly different? Okay, yeah. So the notes or the placing for the fingers may have been different? Fingering, good, okay. So then I would have been good with that transition, and I should have done that. Hindsight, right? So I have information about Baroque period, classical period, and the Romantic period. I could go ahead and highlight with my pen Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. We have Bach and Beethoven here. And then impact on modern culture, musical influence. We could talk about this. If the slide is too small, you can also zoom in on your slides. And I could zoom in on the musical influence to make it easier for you to read. This is a function that you can use the Control plus key, or there's a little magnifier for me as a presenter. Question or comment?
If you highlight musical influence and you want to learn more about it, can you just click it right there and it'll bring up something else more?
Great question. You cannot. But as a presenter designer, I could put in a link to get more information about it, or I could go back to Copilot and I could say, can you give me more information about musical influence as another slide? Great question. Moving on to my favorite topic, up till about 2 or 3 months ago when I started playing tennis again, pickleball. History of pickleball, I don't need the notes because I learned that it was around and that my gym teacher from high school started teaching her students in 1990. I graduated in '86. I was a little bummed that I didn't learn about this when I was in high school, but like many things, the cello, I probably would have been like, I don't need this. I play tennis. I don't need something that's, you know, a smaller court, the size of a badminton court. And that's why it is compared to badminton, which you may not have known. I always try to figure out, what does this have in common with badminton? Badminton is like a volleyball-sized net in the air, not the tennis-sized net in front of you. The paddles for pickleball are solid. They're like a big ping pong paddle. They're not like the birdie and the elongated, soft netting of a badminton racket, but it's the court size. It may also be scoring. I don't remember how to score badminton. But it talks about the roots of pickleball in badminton and tennis, but it doesn't necessarily give you that information about it being court size and potentially the scoring system. The teacher I had in high school taught us both. She couldn't remember the rules for badminton, but she said she believes they call them innings, and that the first serve was one person, and then you alternate serve once you go forward, which is the same way you do it in pickleball. I've been playing pickleball since 2020, so I'm going on about 4 years of that. I've been playing tennis off and on, more off than on, since I was in high school. So I started learning in grade school. My dad took me out with wood rackets, learned how to play tennis. We had tennis courts at the high school I went to. Those are currently still there, but they have not been resurfaced or taken care of. The lights are there, but it's at a point where it either needs to be resurfaced or they're unusable. They just in DeKalb, Illinois, replaced our tennis courts. We had 4 that were also deteriorating, and they replaced them with 4 dedicated pickleball courts and then 2 tennis courts to see if tennis would get used. Sure enough, put tennis courts in along with pickleball, and you find the tennis and the racket sport people come out and use them because they're all brand new. So we have both tennis as well as pickleball growing in DeKalb, Illinois at Hopkins Park, if you're familiar with that. So this is becoming a super popular sport. Africa, I don't know that much about Africa, other than I learned at one point it's the most expensive place to call in the world, and I'm not sure if that has changed or not with the changes in telecommunication. That may be different now because we have so many ways, like with Skype or services, to make calls that just require our internet connection as opposed to getting charged for calls. Top tourist destinations include Victoria Falls, the Serengeti National Park, and Cape Town. I have speaker notes, so if I exit again from this view, I can see that I have at the bottom of the screen something different than you have on the slide to read to my audience. And I also have slides about cultural experiences and traditions, and practical travel tips and recommendations. 9 years ago, so that is my presentation that has been created by Copilot And I could then modify the pictures, I could modify, put some flavor about it. I've never been to Africa, but I've been playing pickleball since 2020. And, you know, maybe put some pictures of me playing, or the DeKalb courts, wherever I played. I played in London, I played in Ireland, I played in Canada, and I played in several places in the United States. When I travel, I try to find where they're playing pickleball, and then I go and visit. So I'm also a pickleball ambassador for DeKalb. Hopefully I'll be a pickleball ambassador over in Lansing, Illinois, which is on the border of Illinois and Indiana. That's where I'm going to be moving to shortly. So this is our presentation. We have finished. 9 years ago, when Ignite was in Chicago, I used aka.ms, which is a Microsoft shortcut, and WorkSmart, which was Microsoft IT, MS-IT, WorkSmart, as a shortcut to share my presentation that was in OneDrive 9 years ago. Since then, I've left Microsoft. I was full-time at Microsoft at the time. But what I did was put this on my personal OneDrive as opposed to my work OneDrive. So OneDrive for Business was tied to Microsoft, went away in 2016. I went back for 18 months in 2019. So I had a different OneDrive for Business. Then I left in 2020, December. They turned me into a salesperson. I was like, see ya. I like cheerleading. I like talking to community folks, but I don't want to be a salesperson. I want you to tell me how many surfaces I have to sell this month. So this share is public, and it has all sorts of presentations. It also has PowerPoint Bingo if you want to use this for one of your upcoming meetings or Zoom calls. It has several different PowerPoint faux pas or things that happen in PowerPoint meetings. Anybody seen a presentation where somebody overuses pie charts, bar charts, and graphics? Or says, I know you can't see this, but, and then what do?
Show it to you.
They continue to tell you about what you can't see instead of zooming in on what you can't see, like I just did. Clicker not working, internet not working, should be on here, right? So you know, crutch words from the presenter, build slides. Somebody that doesn't know that you can press a slide number and get back to a particular slide in a presentation. So if I'm sitting on the conclusion side, which is slide 21, and I know that slide 13 is really important in my presentation, I can hit 1-3 enter, and I'm back to my pickleball section. So if you're familiar enough with your presentation, you don't have to struggle with, oh, hold on while I go through my 18 build slides to get to slide 19. I hit 19 enter, and I'm right on slide 19 in my presentation. So that's another PowerPoint trick for you. The other thing about this Surface, that is the reason I have upgraded, is if you're familiar with Surface, it's always had this pretty cool feature of having detachable keyboards, right? Since 2012, when it came out, it's had detachable feature keyboards. But check this out. The keyboard is now wireless. So instead of being tied to the podium, I can walk around the room or hand this to one of you. And if you're familiar enough with Windows to use maybe pinching on the trackpad, I'm not tied to where the Surface is sitting anymore. So I have a portable trackpad and a portable keyboard to do things like bring up the Windows menu, go into Excel, go into their applications. So if you haven't used things like PowerPoint, Word, and Excel for a little while, be sure to check out Copilot Pro. Do that 30-day trial. You can just tell it not to extend, or you start getting charged $20 a month. But if you find the value in being able to do something like create Christmas cards and take a topic that people in your family care about and write a parody song about a topic. Has anybody seen the SNL skit about the tight pants?
Yeah.
I really want to do a Teams pants because I have some purple pants next week. And I want to parody that song. Everybody's talking about my Teams pants. I got my Teams pants on. And what I need are the lyrics, right? I haven't really thought through what I can do for lyrics off of that, based on the parody of the Tight Pants with Will Ferrell from either SNL or Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show it started with. And there's several of them you can find on YouTube. I went into copilot.microsoft.com, free version you can just get to from your browser, copilot.microsoft.com. And I said, write a parody of the Tight Pants song with Microsoft Teams. It wrote several verses, they all rhymed. It gave me some ideas. Might not be what I go with, just what it writes, but it gets your ideas flowing of this might be a way to do that. So take your favorite artist, take your grandson or granddaughter or your kids or your sisters and brothers, whoever you're thinking about gifts for. This would be an easy way to come up with something that you could do for free with copilot.microsoft.com, for $20 or 1 month free with Copilot Pro that you can get for your personal versions of the Office apps. And then if you don't want to install the Office apps or you're not on a Windows device, there is a version for iPad, there's a version for Mac, and you can also use it in the browser. So you can type in things like PowerPoint.new and create a brand new PowerPoint in a browser. And it can be Chrome, it can be Edge, it can be Safari on a Mac or an iPhone. Shouldn't really matter. PowerPoint.new, Excel.new, Word.new in a browser. Question or comment?
How does all this, okay, Copilot, but in Edge, you got the Copilot icon up on top.
Right.
How is this
So
different from that?
How does Edge, which is Microsoft's browser and is now cross-platform, how does Edge work with Copilot in the upper left there, or right? Copilot up here is available in Edge because Microsoft owns Edge as well as Copilot. So you won't find this in Chrome, but the idea here is this is going to be the free version as well, unless you log in and you have licensing somewhere else. Great question. So similar to Copilot in the browser, but check this out. This is pretty cool. There's now voice.
Pilot on the case.
Hey, Copilot, can you tell me a little bit about a trip to Africa?
Africa is a total game changer. It's huge, full of culture, wildlife, and landscapes. You've got the Sahara, savannas, rainforests, and vibrant cities like Cape Town and Nairobi. Safari in Kenya or Tanzania will blow your mind with lions, elephants, and rhinos. There's exploring ancient history in South Africa. It's like whatever you're into, nature, history, or just jaw-dropping scenery, Africa's got it. Anything grabbing your interest so far?
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about South Africa and specifically Cape Town?
Cape Town, South Africa is a vibe like no other. It's where mountains, oceans, and a bustling cityscape all collide. Table Mountain.
So I had seen a demo where they actually interrupted it, and I'm not sure if it's because it's so loud and it's not hearing my audio or what's going on there, but that new audio feature in just Copilot for free sounds natural, sounds like you're talking to a human being, not necessarily AI. And then when I saw the interruption video, I was like, that's really cool because that could happen in real life. You know, I don't need the basics of Africa. I already know where I want to go, or you piqued my interest on something. You can always just turn it off and turn it back on to ask a different question. But the interruption feature I saw in one of the videos when they introduced this functionality. So like I said, I do need to jump back and see how my class is doing with a really complex lab that lasts about 5 hours. But as soon as I have them kind of settled down, I'm happy to come back and mingle and share some life updates. Sam is 26 now. He's back in DeKalb. He works at Elwood Steak and Fish. He is the expediter, so he works between the cooks and the wait staff at a pretty good restaurant in DeKalb, Illinois on Sycamore Road, just north of the pickleball courts. So you can make pickleball and a stop at Elwood Steak and Fish. And our son Sam is about my height and has exactly the same hairstyle as I have now. Our daughter Audrey is 21 and she is studying to be a vet tech. She goes to school up in Rockford, Illinois, and then she works at a animal vet clinic in Oswego. And has a boyfriend from New Jersey that she met several years ago. They did a blind date in DeKalb for a week. She invited her boyfriend for the first time to spend a week with us in DeKalb. It's like, this is the worst idea you have ever had, Audrey. But it's worked out. They've gone on several, adventures together. She's gone to New Jersey a couple times to see him. He's been back several times. He's coming back in December to see her for about a week. And really nice boy. We're very happy for her. And like I said, I got divorced in September. And late September, I started dating somebody from Lansing. So I am in a new relationship from my perspective. But the kids, and I still keep in touch with Eva and my in-laws. So we'll do Christmas in DeKalb, and we're doing the holidays in Minneapolis, the Thanksgiving holiday up in Minneapolis. We both have family up there. So the other thing about the PowerPoint bingo is it does have my LinkedIn information. So if you're trying to figure out how to find me on LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/in/Stilldrey, STILLDREY. And with that, I turn things back over to you.
That's fine. Quick
Excellent.
question.
Sure.
Is Copilot driven only by keyboard activity, or can you do it with a sensitive screen?
With a sensitive screen?
In other words, if the screen is sensitive to touch, can you?
Yeah, so the same way that I did the presentation, create a presentation about going on a trip to Maryville, Indiana. So with a touch screen, it's going to tell me, do you want to get rid of these slides, or do you want to make changes and save a copy first? I'm going to save the changes to the current presentation.
Okay, yeah.
This doesn't look like it's about creating high-impact presentations. Oh, because it only picked up create a presentation about. It didn't pick my information about Maryville in the prompt. Yeah, so if you have a touch screen, you can certainly go into blank presentations and then either do create a presentation about. It doesn't look like this one has the icon for the mic, but the sidebar one does. So there are ways to talk to Windows and several ways to interact. Yeah, so if you need like assistance, the immersive reader could read the presentation for you. So you have functions like that in Windows as well.
I just wanted to tell you that we have pickleball and tennis courts here.
Awesome.
Probably passed by them on the way
Awesome.
to come
Yeah.
up Del Webb Boulevard.
Yes, I
But the
did.
stadium court, will you leave the stadium court will be on your right behind them. We have lots of
Nice.
pickleball and.
Are they lit up too? The
They are
airplanes?
lit.
Nice. That's the piece that's missing in DeKalb. We have a dedicated pickleball place off Route 64. They put up lights there and outdoor courts.
Yeah.
But it's growing in popularity,
Oh,
no doubt.
you know, pickleball has 3 times as many members as our tennis members now.
Yes.
And our executive director is from Sycamore DeKalb.
Oh, excellent.
He's new here.
Excellent. Well, if he tells you anything about me, lies and exaggeration. It's none of it's true.
You probably heard of Brian Gregory.
Brian Gregory.
He was a political body before he came here.
Okay. The name's not ringing a bell, but it could be.
I think he worked in DeKalb and lives in Sycamore.
Okay. Yeah, I've been there for 20 years and I
Right
grew
down
up,
the
so
way
20
from
years
us.
before, 20 years later. Question?
I'm interested in getting a Surface, but I want to compare Windows 12 and the AI as well. Can I buy one now, or do I should I wait until?
Great question. So the question was, should you buy a computer now or should you wait? We've got the holidays coming up. There's all sorts of deals on computers. A Surface today will run whatever Microsoft decides to call the next version. So whether that's just Windows 11 and we go into 2025 with a H1 first half of 2025 and an H2, or whether we go into something like Windows 12 or Windows 365, whatever they decide to rename it. Windows 10 lasted for about 5 years. we're on like year 1 or 1.5, 2 with Windows 11. So I would imagine they're not going to change the name for Windows 11. They're just going to keep on iterating on it. But there's the possibility they'll change. The big decision you have to make if you're buying a Surface or a computer today is what the processors are in the computers. The Surface that I have with the detachable keyboard has a benefit of being the same technology your phones use. So if you think about the battery life that you get from your phone versus a computer with a laptop, that's the same benefit I get with some of those new computers that have what's called the ARM chip instead of an Intel or an AMD chip. So that's the biggest decision you probably have to make. If you buy a new Mac, all the Macs use ARM chips. So they get extremely great battery life. In the laptops, that's the device I have over in the classroom where I'm teaching. So I'm going to be just across the hall. You're welcome to stop by if I'm not talking. You're welcome to have a conversation with me over here or over there. Once I get everybody situated, I'm guessing they're just working on labs. I'll come back into this room and I can answer any questions.
You'll be in the solarium and then you'll be coming back in here.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan. So yeah, if you want to get started playing around with AI, especially with Copilot, it is available as an app. You can put it on your phone, be it an iPhone or an Android phone, and you can start talking to Copilot. Or if you want to use Apple's version, or if you want to use Google has Google Gemini or any of these others, you can start playing around and just like Dan did, you can have a nice conversation with the AI. And you can interrupt the person too. You can pick your person. It can be either a male or a female voice. If you want it to have a foreign accent, you can even have somebody with a British accent or what have you. Okay, so with that, I think, are there any other questions or anything? Otherwise, what we'll do is open the floor up for, you can settle down at any of the tables here in the front. If you've got questions of any of us, we'll be available right now to answer your quick questions. And of course, you're always welcome to come to the lab with more complex issues. And thank you all for coming.